I was always stressed about my lung collapsing again all the time, and that's
Wow.
what made the bowel disease, like, just get worse and worse. I felt in my chest the real feeling of, I may not come out on the other side of this, and it felt so real at the time, and yeah, that's a moment I'll never forget. I was given a second chance that, um, other people do not get, and I'm not gonna waste it.
Welcome to Beyond the Bass, a podcast where we go beyond the music and into the full, authentic stories of your favorite artists. No sound bites or surface level moments. This is a space for true depth, honesty, and connection. It's my hope you'll walk away feeling more connected to your favorite artists and maybe even a tad more inspired to pursue your own passions too. Today's guest is Nick Liuzzi, better known as Nikademis. His music blends dark and mysterious bass with empowering melodies and vocals. He's released music with Slander and has received support from melodic heavyweights including Illenium, Dabin, William Black, and Blank. Thank you so much for listening. Now let's dive in. Oh man, dude, I'm freaking stoked that you're in the studio.
Yeah, same, man. Yeah.
It's I'm gonna say this every single podcast episode. It's gonna be, I am so stoked for this episode. Here is why. But it's true. Like I think it's weird. I don't know how much you believe in synchronicity and spiritual things, but I'm a very strong believer in some spiritual concepts, specifically synchronicity. And the way that I like found you and reached out, in my opinion, was a synchronicity. So I just finished recording the first episode of this podcast in here with Johnny Ruffin, Bass Surgeons. Same day, maybe a couple hours later, I'm on Instagram and I see you post, your Instagram carousel of your story. Maybe it's
Mm,
like 7 slides, 8 slides, whatever it is.
right, yeah.
And I'm immediately captivated by any artist that's like willing to share their story publicly. But I read through your slides and I found like a lot of resonant themes. And I'm like, oh man, like this is crazy. Here I am, just finished recording for this podcast. And now I see this beautiful post. And I was like, all right, I'm going to cold DM you. And I know there's some themes with cold emails and cold DMs in your story. So we'll
Yeah,
touch
yeah.
on
Yep,
that.
yep.
But yeah, I'm just like, I'm really appreciative that you answered and you were down to do this. And so I just wanted to start off by saying thank you. Like, thank you for coming on.
Of course, man. Yeah, thank you for having me, and, I didn't realize that was the day that recorded that, so that's really dope. And yeah, that post really, um, did I got way more love on it than I expected, which was really, really awesome, and, I think it just kinda goes to show that keeping things real is, what resonates with people, so,
Couldn't agree more.
yeah.
Sweet. Well, I would love to dive in, but before I do, I wrote something down that was interesting. So,
Okay.
do you remember your first thread ever on Instagram or Facebook, whatever they call threads?
Oh, the new Threads app?
Yes. The first time you
No, I don't. I remember when they first came out with it, I downloaded it and I said something and then I left for a while. And now I'm back because Twitter has just become, or X, whatever, has become just such a crazy place, man. Oh my God.
I trust me, I logged on for the first time in forever, and I just see like basically porn on my feed.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
I don't even follow anyone. Why is this the first thing I'm being recommended?
exactly. And there's just like so much like hate being thrown around too, and yeah, so I'm pretty much off of there. But no, I don't remember,
Okay,
honestly.
so I wrote it down.
Okay.
So this was on July 6th, 2023.
Okay.
With new platforms come new opportunities and new chances to influence positive change. That being said, I'd like to take this opportunity to ask McDonald's to bring back all day breakfast.
Yes, I remember this
I
now.
sincerely hope they will hear my message. So my question for you is, this is the first podcast you've been on?
It is. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a special message for McDonald's?
Just I will continue to push that message. I hope you guys bring back all day breakfast. It is every time I go to Denver Airport, I hit McDonald's breakfast. It's so bad. That's pretty much all I eat from there
Okay,
nowadays. Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
Well, McDonald's, if you're listening, I figure new platform, we got to get you to say something like
Yes.
influence positive change.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's my message that I wanted to push. So
Incredible.
yeah.
Incredible. Um, there's a lot going on in your life. Sounds like, at
Yeah.
least. Little I
Yeah.
know. You just came back from Atlantic City supporting Crank That.
Yep.
How was that show?
Super awesome. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen it that crazy in there. It was
Really?
jammed, the crowd was insane. Actually, a fight broke out in the middle of my set, which we don't like to see. I had to stop the music for a sec. But yeah, it was really rowdy in there, really crazy. So,
You threw
uh,
down?
yeah, man, I tried. Yeah, he throws down so hard though. Oh my god, such a sick set, so sick. You can see why he's just popping off
Yeah.
right now. Yeah, but it was a lot of fun. Had some family friends that came through because I grew up on Long Island and it's a few hour drive from there. So yeah, it was a really good time.
Incredible.
Yeah,
Awesome. Well, yeah, I would love to kinda, like, paint the picture into how we got here, and
yeah, yeah,
obviously, there's some other more exciting things that you've done and are gonna continue to do. So maybe it would make most sense to just start as early as you wanna go back to your childhood and kinda give us a better understanding of who Nick was as a child.
yeah. I was I was very focused on school. Yeah, I was very worried about my grades and stuff, and that probably dominated a lot of my childhood. Um, I'd say up until high school. Um, Played hockey. That was a big part of my life, but yeah, I always enjoyed music, but I didn't really have, like, a specific genre I liked. I always listened to just, like, whatever was on the radio, yeah, and then it was, like, 8th grade, went to a school dance, and I just remember, like, me and a couple friends afterwards, we were like, "Wow, that DJ just sucked. It was terrible." And we were like, "We could probably do this better." And I always had, like, I feel like a bit of entrepreneurial spirit in me, like, I wanted to, like, start websites or a business somehow, so we, like, pulled together some money, got some small equipment, we built, our own front board and just started, like, grabbing at any opportunities we could to do, like, local backyard parties and stuff for, family members, and then it spread a little bit, we started doing school events, we would get hit up for random things, throughout high school. But one of those friends, shout out Kevin, he showed me electronic music at the time. So it was just
In
like,
8th grade.
it was, I think it was like ninth or 10th grade.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we're in high school, okay.
Yeah. And that was when we really started to like do the gigs and stuff. He showed me like Calvin Harris, Wolfgang Gartner, Zed. And I was like, holy shit, there's like this whole world here of electronic music. And I feel like I had kind of already been listening to it because I always, as silly as it sounds, I always loved like Pitbull, Black Eyed Peas, LMFAO, which had like very EDM influenced
Yeah.
sounds, but it was on the radio, so everyone was hearing it. And then, yeah, I just like totally fell in love with it and dove into it.
Yeah.
Um,
I love that. I love if it's okay with you, I'd love to even, like, rewind the clock a little bit
yeah,
because you
yeah, of
mentioned,
course.
like, growing up, you were really into school. Sounds like you had
Yeah.
a work ethic early on. I'm curious, like, what did that look like up until, 8th grade where you picked up the music stuff?
Yeah. I mean, just I think as weird as it sounds, I was more like I didn't so much care about the grades as, like, I think I didn't want to disappoint my teachers and disappoint my parents. That's
Interesting.
more what it was. Yeah, and that just, like, um, that looked like doing really well in school, right? And not getting in trouble and doing the best they could because, like, let's be honest, grades don't matter in elementary school or
No.
middle school at all. And, like, if I knew that at the time, things would have probably been different, but, um yeah, I think the reason I did work so hard was because I just wanted to, know, make the people around me happy,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh, definitely.
Um,
I feel the same way, by the way.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
a lot of my early work ethic came from that alone. Like, I didn't wanna disappoint my parents.
yep,
I didn't wanna be outcast in school.
right,
Yeah,
right,
like,
yeah.
where do you think you learned that? Because I don't think we come out the womb thinking like that.
I know, yeah. Honestly, I think it definitely was from my parents, and then I think it was also, like I said, just, like, the idea of being scared of, like, letting them down, made me work harder. You know, my dad has his own video business, and like I didn't I didn't really realize until I was older, like, to start your own business, what a leap of faith that is, and, like, hearing stories from my mom about how, like, she was concerned about him doing that, and rightfully so, because, you know, it's the path less traveled, and, you know, he's successful with it now, and I think that took hard work. My mom is, very, like, type A regimented, and I definitely got more of that side,
Okay.
for sure, so I think those were some factors, but yeah, it was also just wanting to make them happy and kinda do, you know, do what I was supposed to do, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's where I feel like it really came from.
That's fascinating. You mentioned kinda well, at least early in your life, there was this thought put into your head by your mom, like, oh, like, words of caution about pursuing your own thing.
Yes.
That's really interesting. That's like I almost said heavy, but that's, like, a lot for a kid to kinda take
Well,
in.
you know, she didn't, it wasn't until I was older that she
Okay.
had told me those stories. So she like, when I was younger, she
Okay.
wasn't really saying those things. It was when I was older and I had kind of heard the stories about my dad starting his own business and
Okay.
stuff. That when I really heard it. So she definitely wasn't, like, instilling those things. But that
Fair.
being said, they both my parents wanted me to do well in school, you know?
Yeah.
And, yeah, I think I overworked myself at times, I think, and I was definitely made fun of a bit too for, like, you know, just being so school oriented and kind of like the,
Really?
you know, one of the nerdy kids type thing.
Interesting.
But yeah, by the time I got to high school, people just kind of, you know, left me alone in terms of that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, totally. It's so funny, I resonate with that so deeply. Like, this concept of I call it conditioning, right? I don't know where I got it from, but, like, I was conditioned to believe, yeah, I needed to do well, I didn't wanna disappoint the people around me.
yeah,
Do you think that was, like, part and also I grew up in New Jersey, so not too far away from
yeah,
Long
yeah,
Island. I think
yep.
there's a northeastern thing there, or tri-state area, I think. Do you think that, like, growing up in kinda that environment also influenced you in some way? Sorry, that
I think
tri-state area?
yeah, yeah, I think so. I think there's a bit of a rat race concept to the tri-state area, but Long Island is weird in my opinion. It's a bit of like I feel like a bubble. Um, Always felt a bit sheltered to me. That's part of why I wanted to get out. I think it was kind of that rat racy concept, but I think, you know, the biggest thing is like the most clear path to being, or at least when I was growing up, the most clear path to being, you know, being able to take care of yourself financially and just be comfortable in life, was doing really well in school, going
Yeah.
to a great college, um, doing well in college, and then getting a, you know, a stable job.
Yep.
And I think things have changed a little bit, but I just think that's what my parents wanted for me. You know, so I think that was the biggest factor because there were a lot of kids that didn't do well, of
Yeah.
course, you know,
Yeah.
and they still turned out fine, of course, but um, yeah, I think if I could look back, I definitely would have taken some pressure off of myself because I think it
Mm.
turned me into, you know, a very like it made me very high anxiety and for things that I probably didn't need to be anxious over and stressed over, you know.
Yeah.
So
I'm, like, taking a breath thinking about that. Like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I just remember in
I
middle
feel
school.
that.
Yeah, middle school I was like for some reason stressed out of my mind about school and I just look back and I'm like, what a waste, you know? Um so yeah, I think it was just a combination of factors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Middle school, just, like, having flashbacks in my head to
Yeah,
middle
yeah.
school.
Yep.
Um, so Kevin was the friend that turned you on to EDM. What was it
Yes.
like when you first, like, ex heard something you loved or just discovered this genre? Like, how did that feel?
It was like yeah, I'll never forget that feeling. It was like eye-opening. It was like it touched something in my soul. And yeah, I'll never forget just like listening to like Il Merica by Wolfgang Gartner and being like, this is what I've been missing. Like, and I don't know why, but Yeah, that was, like, one of the first songs in electronic music that I was obsessed with, and I loved, like, that early I think a lot of us did love that electro house sounds, complextro, then the progressive house and big room house type stuff, yeah, it was just, like and then going through Beatport for the first time and just hearing all of these songs, it was, like, shocked that there's just this whole world that no one really knew about, and of course, it's exploded a lot more now in the US, but yeah, it was, like, super eye-opening for me. Um,
And this was 8th grade,
yeah,
8th,
it
ninth grade.
it was, like, probably closer to ninth or 10th grade 'cause
Okay.
yeah, it was the end of 8th grade when we went to that party, and then, like, ninth grade, we started to kind of bring things together a bit,
Yeah.
so,
How did
yeah.
that work? What does bring things together mean?
So, it's interesting, we, like in ninth grade I grew up right by the shore. We got hit hard by Hurricane Sandy. So, a lot of my friends that were near me were also right by the shore like me. So I was the whole bottom level of our house was flooded out.
Wow.
We were out of our house for a month, but then I had other friends who like their house was totally done. And Kevin was one of those people, and also my friend Robbie, who's the other friend DJing with me. And he ended up Kevin, meaning he ended up getting, a rental house right by the high school, um, that we went to, and that was probably a couple of months he was there, and we would go there after high school. It had this huge basement, and that was kind of the place where we had space to start building the front board and, like, gathering all the equipment. So we would just, yeah, go there almost every day after school and work at that, like, trying to make something, out of it.
And you were,
So
like, the only group of kids in your school that you knew of that were, like, into this world?
yeah, pretty much. Kevin didn't actually even go to my high school. He went to a
Oh,
private high school, so it was like yeah, it was I didn't know anyone else. Maybe, like, one other friend that was into Monster Cat stuff, but no one else that I knew who, Calvin Harris said, at the time, at least Wolfgang Gartner, Madeon, like, those were some of my favorites, and, yeah, people didn't know who they were until, um like, Clarity got popular, then
yeah.
people knew who Zed was, and, like, even with Calvin Harris, like, "We Found Love" was a really big song at the time, but everyone just thought it was Rihanna, no one knew that Calvin Harris worked on that song at the time, so, um, yeah, I definitely felt like I was kinda in my own world for a bit, yeah.
Did you try to, like, convert people or, like, bring them in? It sounds like such an eye-opening
You know
experience.
what? I definitely did because so we would go to the park around the corner from me and play hockey, like, one day I was just like let me get a bunch of friends together and let's just like play street hockey. And it became like a periodic thing. Then eventually it turned into roller hockey. And I would bring my speaker and I would play um, all the biggest like EDM at the time. And yeah, there's definitely a couple of friends that are big uh, enjoyers and showgoers in the scene. And I take credit for that partially for sure.
You know who you are.
So yes, they definitely know who they are. Yeah. Mike Harris, I know I got you into this shit. So, um,
It's funny, I
yeah.
don't know why I'm seeing the Instagram or TikTok trend where it's like, someone in your 20s is gonna tell you to go to a rave. Say yes.
Yeah,
This is like
exactly.
someone when you're
Yeah.
in 8th grade or whatever, 10th grade is gonna tell you to get into this, say yes.
Yeah, yeah, but no, I definitely see other kids now that I wasn't really, close with in high school that they're going to shows and going to festivals and, I'm happy they're enjoying it now. So, but definitely not in high school. There weren't many people that were into it. So,
Yeah.
um,
Okay, so you're just getting your hands dirty. You got a group of friends that like are into this as well. You're building the front board in the basement. Like how does this progress further?
it tracks and you have to play what you think the
Mm,
crowd is gonna like the most next, then it usually involves like a Pitbull song or something that was popular on the radio. But then I was like, one day I had messed around in GarageBand when I was younger a few times, but I was like, okay, let me really try to make this stuff on my own. So I split the cost of Logic Pro with my dad, probably sometime probably in 10th grade, maybe beginning of 10th grade or end of ninth grade, something like that. And yeah, I just dove into it and I would come home and start working on beats and stuff there, so, um, that was kind of the undertaking for it, and I was quickly falling in love with it,
Yeah.
even though what I was making at the time was surely absolutely terrible, you know?
Yeah.
Um, I was enjoying the fact that I could create something myself and being able to hear the full end product. So that was kind of the next step in
Yeah, what
the
did falling
process.
in love with it look like? You mentioned coming home from school and working on it, but was just like w was it a grind? Was it just, like, every waking hour you thought out music? Was it something more chill? Like, I've heard from various artists that that initial kind of creation process is very
Yeah.
intense. I'm curious what it's like for you.
Yeah, it didn't feel like a grind at all. It just felt like almost like playing video games. Like, I was just really having fun with it because, like, I didn't think of it at the time as something that I I could make into a career when I very first started out. Eventually, I did, like, or wanted to, of course, and I think that's when you put a little more pressure on yourself and there's a little bit more of a grind aspect, but no, it was just like I wanted to spend all my time doing it. You know, I was at school and wishing that I was at home working on music. So yeah, that's it. It never felt like any type of work at all. It just felt like fun.
I
Um,
love that.
yeah,
And you mentioned your dad helped you with Logic. What was the name of
yes,
the software? Was it
yeah.
Logic? Oh, sorry,
Logic Pro. Yeah,
Logic Pro.
yep.
Um, how supportive were your parents? It sounds like at least somewhat supportive.
Yes, yeah. I have to give a huge thank you to my dad because he instilled this like being in video production, that's what he does, and I work with him quite a bit nowadays too, like, for my day job because I do video by day as well, and, um, he, like, put me in front of, like, Apple computers and video gear and all that stuff from when I was very young, so I had a lot of, like, technical skill instilled within me from when I was very young, and then I was able to kind of, like, transfer those skills over to audio and music. And it was, I feel like, a lot easier for me to start picking up things within Logic and all of the other plugins that I end up using. So I give a huge, huge thank you to him for that because I think without even knowing, he really set me up for this shit very well.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think they loved that I had that kind of hobby and that I was into it, but then I think, it was when I was like, "Okay," which was later on, of course, "I really wanna try to pursue this as something that" there was definitely some hesitancy and some
Mm.
pushback, which I totally understand. I think at the time, I was not as understanding of it, but looking back in retrospect, yeah, I definitely understand where they were coming from. But if I asked for speakers for Christmas, they would have gotten it for me.
Yeah.
I bought my first pair of speakers, but yeah, anything that like there were keyboards I wanted, synths and stuff. They were very supportive of all that stuff. They just loved that I had a cool hobby. I think. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. I'm curious to hear about when it shifted. So, right, when it became when it was a hobby and it started to become more of a calling,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
the narrative in your parents' head, how that shifted.
Yeah, I think it was like um so I was like very much in high school being pushed down the engineering route. I did
Mm.
robotics, which I absolutely loved robotics throughout high school.
What'd you love about robotics?
It was the idea of like we're all a team, we're all given like for the competition, it's a ton of schools throughout Long Island, and we're all given like the same kind of parameters, and we have to work together to come up with the best device or vehicle to like compete in whatever the game was for that year. And then again, it was like that idea of seeing a finished product and being like, "Wow, we did this," and seeing it perform. Um, I thought was really really cool.
Mm.
So yeah, I did well with that, and I was being pushed down the engineering route, so I was, after high school, going to Stevens Institute of Tech in Hoboken, New Jersey for engineering, and then I just realized, like, this is not what I wanna do. Like, music was just, like, calling me, in such a tremendous way that I just, like, could not resist it anymore, and I was calling my mom, calling my dad saying, "I don't wanna do this, I don't wanna do this," having arguments with my mom over the phone about it, and, um, that was probably very tough for her because I did really well in high school, um, and I was, like, the math and science kid, and engineering is, of course, a very, stable career to
Yeah.
go into, but eventually I switched out of engineering, I went into their music program for a year at Stevens Tech, and then after that, I just finished an associate's at a more local school on
Mm.
Long Island
Mhm.
and started doing my own thing, but yeah, I was literally walking out of classes at Stevens Tech because I was just so done with it. I was like, "I can't do this math shit anymore."
Yeah.
Like, um, yeah,
Why not?
I just, like I felt something inside me.
Yeah.
It was, like, just really pulling me that hard towards, another direction in my life, and I think there's something to say about that for sure, you
Yeah.
know? I haven't been super spiritual in my life. I grew up religious, but I kind of drifted away from it. And then, I do think though that spirituality like comes from within, and like there was just something within that was pulling me.
In your chest.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and so hard that I literally, yeah, just like made it look like I was going to the bathroom in a class and just walked out and would call my mom and be like, I cannot do this anymore. So, um,
And
and
how does she react to something like that?
yeah, not well, not well, for sure, at the time, and it was just especially for me, it was so surprising because I was the academic kid, you
Right,
know?
right. Here you are, like,
Yeah.
great student, crushing it, and all of a sudden, it's like, "Actually, I don't wanna do this anymore." I imagine it's very jarring for a parent to hear.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, and, I think a lot of it too was, like and, we can get into this, was, like, the medical stuff that I went through in high school, like, I just felt like I had kinda been given a second chance, and I deserved to be happy, and do
Mm,
what was gonna make me happy, and I always knew I could go back. And even if I wanted to, I could still go back to school, you know? Um, and we're also living in a world now where college is not even necessarily a safe bet anymore.
mhm,
It's like the Wild West right now,
mhm.
so, but that being said, my mom is extremely supportive now,
Yeah,
extremely supportive, and I completely understand the, hesitancy in hindsight. My dad was a little more like, "Okay, do what you want." He was definitely hesitant as well. But I think that was part of him, like, starting his own business type
right.
thing.
So this
And
is where the initial comments, maybe your mom was like,
yeah, that's really when it started.
"Okay."
Yeah, yeah. Because I think she had seen how hard it was with him, and, I mean, my god, I did not know how hard this shit was gonna be when I got into it, and so I totally understand now the hesitancy. But yeah, she's, like, one of my biggest fans now, so, yeah, that was a big turning point, I'd say
Yeah,
that first year of college.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny, I, like, was cracking up as you said, like, I didn't know how hard it was gonna be. I feel like that's a common theme with anyone
Yeah.
doing an entrepreneurial endeavor. I have a couple of things on myself, including this podcast, and
Yep.
it's like, I I didn't actually know. Like,
Yeah.
I still don't actually know. I'm, 3, 4 episodes in, and I don't really know. And it's funny because there's a level of, like, naivete that I think
Yes.
we innately experience, but without it, you probably wouldn't have done this.
I totally would not have, if I wasn't so naive to think that it was, like, a bit easier. That being said, I wouldn't trade anything for the world, of course, but yeah, it is a tremendous amount of work, and the only thing that has gotten me through it is just the love for the music, and kudos to you for pursuing,
Thank
like,
you.
it's the path less traveled for sure, and that's, I think the level of hesitancy my mom had, and I was, like, afraid to tell other people around me too, because like we were saying, like, I was the academic kid. I was supposed to be the big engineer to, do something crazy, but it wasn't for me.
Yeah,
Um,
I just realized, do you have any siblings?
I do, I have a sister. Yeah,
Younger, older?
older.
Okay, interesting. I
Yeah.
was wondering if, like, your parents were worried about you carving the path, but it sounds like since she's older, might have carved a path.
Yeah, yeah, and I think, you know, she did very well in school, and she went to college, and she followed that path and stuff, and then you've got the younger kid who is also doing really well in school and then deviates so much, it's like, "What is going on?" You know?
Yeah,
So, um, yeah, I think it was a bunch of factors for sure,
totally.
um, but we're all good now,
Beautiful.
so yeah.
You mentioned some health stuff in high school.
Yeah.
Is that something you're open to sharing more about?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's like a really, really big part of my story, I think, and like a lot of what I want to explain with like the branding of, Nicodemus and the Panther, etc. So, and that was a big part of what drove me towards this as well. Like I was saying, because I just felt like I deserved to go down my own path
Mm,
after all that stuff. But yeah, and January-ish of 10th grade, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. For anyone that doesn't know, it's an irritable bowel disease, which there's no cure for. There's a lot of treatment for it, a lot of treatment options that you can go through, and there's really no sense as to why it happens. They're
mm,
still trying to figure it out. But I was diagnosed with that. Quickly got on medication, which, like, at first, just went right into remission. So it was just,
mm,
like, essentially gone.
mhm,
And then in March, couple months later, I went to the park to play hockey, started feeling a lot of really weird chest pain.
mm,
Skated home, like, the park was right around the corner, and then had no idea what was going on, could, like, barely breathe, went to the emergency room, was starting to feel a little better, and then they, determined that my right lung had spontaneously collapsed,
wow,
which was another thing that's just, like, it just happens for some reason. The doctor said, like, in kind of, like, somewhat tall, skinny males, around that age who go through, like, a big growth spurt, it can develop, like, a weak spot in the lung, and then it basically bursts, and then air escapes into your
mm,
chest, and that's a collapsed lung. So um, I spent like the next 6 months to a year trying to get that figured out because it kept recurring. So I would go into the hospital for a little bit. It would get fixed, then it would come back again. So a few months later, I had to have surgery for that. After the surgery, kept happening.
yeah, what's the fix? Sorry, is it
Yeah,
surgery?
yeah. So if it depends. If it's really bad, which it was at first, they have to put a chest tube in
Okay,
to what's the word? I guess aspirate the air,
okay,
and then they have to monitor it, and then they I was in the hospital for a week the first time, and then they take the tube out, and then hopefully for 90% of people it doesn't happen again, and that's the
mm,
fix.
mhm,
For me, it kept happening. There were It wasn't like every time I went in, I had to have a chest tube because if, like, just a little bit of air escapes, then they're like, "Okay, we don't need to intervene. This will probably, like, correct or reabsorb on its own." But then the protocol, I remember the surgeon was like, "Okay, this happens to you 3 times, then we have to do surgery." And the
mm,
surgery is they basically find the weak spot, they resect it, and then they do something called this is very, complex medical stuff, but what they explained it to me was, like a something to make almost like your lung, like, fuse with your chest wall, that way there's nowhere for air to escape. That
got it.
first surgery did not work properly for whatever reason, not totally sure, and the same thing kept happening throughout the summer that year, and was in and out of the hospital getting chest tubes in, chest tubes out, blah, 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 and then eventually it was, like, September of October of that year, they decided to repeat the surgery, um, in a bit more of an intense manner, and that was a tough hospital visit for sure. I woke up, I had, like, 3 huge tubes coming out of my chest on this side, and I
Oof,
think I was in there for a total of 2 weeks after that one, and haven't had an issue since. I still get, like, some kind of weird pains every once in a while, but it's not from like a collapsed lung. It's just kind of like there's scar tissue in there and it's, doing whatever it does. So, um, yeah, that fixed that. And then at the same time, my colitis was getting worse because it's just like a snowball effect because anything with your gut is very, anxiety and stress driven. And any level of stress definitely makes things worse. And I was already such a stressed out kid. Um,
Mm,
so yeah, the stress of like going through the lung stuff was making things worse. And I was starting to have to get on more intense medications,
mm,
intense treatments and stuff. And then by the beginning of my senior year of high school, that my colitis got so bad that just there were no medications anymore that were working for it. So then surgery was the only option there. I was basically told like if we don't operate and like do something about your colon, like something very bad could happen.
mm,
Like potentially life threatening. So
mm.
that was 3 surgeries. It's a 3-part procedure over the course of my senior year of high school. So
Wow.
um I'm very grateful there was an option for me, but it was, yeah, it was a process for sure because they basically do one part, which is like removing the colon, and then you have to wait 3 months for it to heal. Then they do the next part, which is basically making something new for you, which is going to be your makeshift, well, not makeshift, but what's going to act like a colon. And then they have to wait 3 months for that to heal, and then they reconnect everything. And sorry if that's TMI, but that was the process, and, um, it just kind of puts in perspective, like, how much it was and why after all of that, I mean, it was like 5 major surgeries. Actually, the last one was a major, but it was yeah, like
Still, that's
it was
like
5 surgeries, and I was just like I was so done with, um, like, life just throwing things at me for no reason, and
mm,
I could, like, keep thinking about was a couple of things, was, like, first of all, when I had the lung stuff done, I had to be in the pediatric ICU because you need to be monitored 24 hours a day for that
wow.
type of thing, just in case you never know what's gonna happen, like,
Yep.
a tube could pop out or whatever. So, I had kids in the rooms next to me that were in way worse shape than I was,
Mm,
and sadly, a couple of them passed away, and I was like, "Damn, that could have been me. That could be any of us,"
yeah.
because these are not kids who have necessarily done anything wrong. It's not like they injured themselves. It's just they were dealt this hand.
Yeah.
And then, with the colitis, like the procedure is a generally, I'd say, pretty new option. I think it was developed in the last like 40 to 50 years. And if I was born 60, 70 years ago, there would have been no option for me. It
Yep.
would have just been game over. So I think, like, the whole sharing all the information is just put into perspective, like, why I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And I was not going to live my life for anyone else or, pursue another path because I was like, I've been given this chance.
Yeah.
I was given a second chance that um, other people do not get. And I'm not going to waste it. I'm going to pursue what I want to pursue. And music was a big part of getting me through all those surgeries and all those recoveries and everything. And I hope one day my music can do for others what, you know, that music did for me. Um, so
That's so beautiful, man. I have a
nice.
lot to say on that.
Yeah, yeah.
However, I wanna, like, go back a little bit
Yeah, of
if I
course.
can, but first I want to acknowledge what you just shared. So, like, thank you so much
Yeah,
for
yeah.
your vulnerability and for sharing. This actually relates to me. I told you when we sat down for coffee, I also have been diagnosed with a chronic gut thing.
Right.
Mine's Crohn's, which is, for those that know, very similar to ulcerative colitis.
Yep.
Different part of the colon is affected. Um, so it's very inspiring for me to really hear your story and how your mindset has shifted and where you're at today. And I'm hopeful that your vulnerability will inspire others to, like, that maybe you're experiencing similar stuff, to to live their own lives and, like, make the most of it.
Yeah, yeah, I hope so too. And for people that are going through it, that's why I'm so open about it and I share so many details because I hope it can find others who, even if they're not pursuing music, whatever it may be, who are maybe just going through this, can find some comfort and know that there's other people out there who have dealt with, every step of the process that you could with like these conditions. So, and when we are having coffee, you were talking about how you found a path to healing for yourself, and I'm glad that you found that.
Thank you,
So
thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, so you're in high school. You get this ulcerative colitis diagnosis. What's going through your head? Like, I imagine that's pretty heavy for a high schooler to, like, take in.
Yeah, I just, like, had no idea it existed. I was like, "What even is this?" I didn't know it was a thing. I didn't know these, like, chronic diseases could just pop up
Mm,
overnight. I had some people in my family who had, like, some weird stomach issues here and there, but yeah, I it didn't really feel like that big of a deal because at first the medication switched it so quickly once they figured
mhm.
out what the diagnosis was, and I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna be all good." And for a majority of people, that's what it is. They go into remission for their life. They don't need any more intervention, maybe some maintenance medication here and there. And that's a majority of it. And of course, I start looking things up on the internet, like how some people need surgery, and I just remember being like, "Oh my god, I hope that's not me," and of course, it did end up being me, but, yeah, I think the at the time in high school, the collapsed lung hit me harder because that was, like, um, a lot of intervention,
Yeah,
you
well,
know?
that's what I was gonna ask next. It's like
Yeah.
you've been given something, and then just, like, a year or 2 later, you get something else.
Yeah, it was, like, 2 months later.
Oh, sorry, 2
Yeah,
months
yeah,
later, even
which was
crazier.
yeah, which was crazy, like, just in the span of a couple of months, these 2 absolutely random things popped up, and I think there was a lot of anger at the time too,
Mm,
because like, I lived my life in a generally pretty healthy way. I didn't start drinking until after high school. I wasn't doing drugs. I wasn't out doing stupid shit, and I saw other kids that were, and I was like, these kids, from what it appears like to me, they're all living totally happy, healthy lives, and they're doing stupid shit, and then I'm here following all the rules and everything. Um, and these things just happened to me.
sounds like a "why me?"
Yes, yeah, yeah. I think there was a lot of that, and um, yeah, that was probably one of the biggest pieces that was going through my head. Um,
Mm, why me?
and yeah, why me? Like, why did this happen?
What do those conversations in your head look like?
There were like a lot of I was raised Catholic, and there were like a lot of conversations kind of with God in my head about like
Mm,
why is this happening to me? Type thing. Especially when you're in chronic pain, which is what colitis is, like, there are some really painful moments, and that's when, it really hits hard as to, like, why did this happen to me? Because those are, like, when you're suffering the most, and I'm very grateful to not be in that pain anymore, but, yeah, that's really what it was a lot of,
mm,
like, you know, at the time, I believed God as the creator, he created me, and now I've got this, so my conversations were mostly with him.
mm,
I'm not quite as religious anymore, but
sure.
um, yeah, that's really what it was. But it was more so about like I said, I'm following the rules. I'm doing
Yeah,
everything I'm supposed to. I'm trying to be healthy.
yeah.
I was a little bit of a picky eater growing up, but I was generally pretty healthy. And yeah, I just kind of woke up with this stuff one day, and that was very frustrating. Um, But yeah, I think the collapsed lung thing throughout high school, like the first part, hit me really hard compared to the colitis because at first, yeah, it was like right away as soon as I went into the emergency room. I mean, I thought I was going back home for dinner that night.
Wow.
And then they're like, okay, we got to do this. And they're coming into the emergency room and putting tubes in and stuff. And yeah,
Ooh,
that was something that I think just hit me way harder at the time, and then there was, like eventually the surgeries came for the, colitis, but I think I was more prepared for that because I had already dealt with, you
yep.
know, the intervention. So, yeah, it was a heavy time. Yeah. Um,
Yeah, and if we don't have to beat a dead horse, like, if we wanna move on if you wanna move on, I'm totally happy to. I do have one more
yeah,
question,
yeah,
like,
no,
related to
but
this.
I'm happy to chat about like whatever.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
cool.
yeah,
I appreciate that, and I think the listeners will too. You mentioned there's, like, a lot of stress in your life, and at least in my own experience, maybe yours as well, I found, like, stress doesn't work well for my gut, and especially things that I deal with on a day-to-day. I can just notice some stuff kinda brewing.
yeah.
Sounded like similar for you back in the day. I'm curious, like, do you remember what you were so stressed about?
Just like stuff I did not need to be stressed about at all. I don't know why. It was just like general anxiety. It was definitely school was a big part.
Mm,
I was like before the health stuff, I was stressed about school. Once the collapsed lung stuff hit, I was always stressed about my lung collapsing again all the time. And that's
wow.
what made the the bowel disease like just get worse and worse. And my doctor constantly said to my mom, like, he has to go talk to someone. He needs to go see someone to get his stress down.
Like a
And
therapist.
yes,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. And I was extremely reluctant to do that at the time. And I wish I could change things, but I cannot. Eventually, I did get into therapy after everything was done. And that was probably the smartest thing that I've ever done.
Love that.
So, yeah, but, um, totally should have gone to see someone. The doctor was obviously totally right.
Mm,
But, you're young, you think, "I'm the tough guy, I can handle this, like, I don't need that type of stuff." But, yeah, it was just really bad general anxiety, but like I said, once the collapsed lung hit, like, there were nights I just a few nights I wouldn't go to sleep because I had, like, read things that
yeah.
I was like, "Am I gonna go to sleep and something's gonna happen that I don't
Yeah.
know about?" So, that's where a therapist would have definitely helped because that wasn't going to happen with what I had going on, but I just like, my anxiety and stress was so bad that I could not control those thoughts. So, uh, yeah, but there was like I said, I was just stressed about random stuff too that I didn't need to be stressed about, and even if all of that stuff didn't happen to me, I probably still needed a
Mm,
therapist just for general anxiety.
yeah.
So
That's really
yeah.
fascinating. It's funny, as you were saying that, I was thinking about, life is so precious. This is so trite. Everyone always says this.
Yeah.
Like, life's so precious, cherish every moment, things like this. But it's funny because until you're dealt with, like, something like, a health thing in your face, I don't think most of us think about that, right? So
I
most of us
certainly
walk
did
through life
not.
being like, "Ah, I'm just dilly down, doing whatever," right? And then, you're playing hockey and then you have a collapsed lung. But then from every moment after that, now in your head's like, "Well, what if my lung collapses again?"
Yeah.
And, like, it's
Yeah.
so present. It's so top of your mind. I can
Yeah.
imagine how stressful that is.
Yeah. Yeah, and it took a lot of years of therapy and a lot of years of just being healthy too, and that not happening for me to get over that, but there was one moment I'll never forget that was like a turning point.
Mm,
And it was one of the only moments when I got genuinely scared that, like, wow, I may not make it out of this. And it was like the summer between the first surgery and the last surgery. My main surgeon was out of town on vacation. So I got assigned another surgeon when my lung had collapsed again. And this guy was a little bit, how do I say? He was very direct in his
mm,
speech. And for those of you who have dealt with surgeons, they don't always have the best bedside manner, which is not great for a kid. But the way he was making it sound was almost like he's like, almost like, I don't know, you're in a tough situation here. Like, you could repeat the surgery. You might have to get something really more intense done. And something just like switched to my brain. Like, wow, this is really not good. Like, I
mm,
was starting to get really scared that this may never stop happening and, like, I might be screwed. So, that was a big turning point. Of course, that wasn't the reality, but it was just where my brain went to based on the things he was saying and how it just kept happening again and again, and we were doing all these procedures and nothing was working, and the way he shared it was like, yeah, he was talking about more intense treatment options that like do not have a very good prognosis for the rest of your life. Didn't have to go through any of that, luckily. But yeah, that was like a big turning point of like, okay, I'm not going to take this for granted because I came out on the other side of this, and eventually I came out on the other side of the ulcerative colitis stuff too, and I may not have,
Yeah.
or I felt in my chest the real feeling of I may not come out on the other side of this, and it felt so real at the time. And yeah, that's a moment I'll never forget. Like the image of exactly where I was is imprinted in my mind like 10 years later. And that is like yes, something that I think will stick with me forever and always like really, really instill in me like do not take things for granted. Do not. I think we all get caught up at times and forget to smell the flowers and stuff. And
Mm.
and I've definitely been subject to that, especially when you're like, I travel for music, but I also travel for work. And when you're traveling so much, it's like you're just moving, moving, moving. It's hard to kind of slow yourself down. So I think we all get caught up in that, and I'm certainly guilty of that. But those are feelings that I'll just always remember. And like I said, propelled me to just do what was gonna, make me happy.
Yeah. I mean, that's again, thank you for sharing because
Yeah,
like
yeah, of
all
course.
that
Yeah.
context, at least in my brain, but I probably listeners' brains as well, makes sense. Like, okay, now I understand why this inner knowing, this calling to pursue music wasn't going to be wasted.
Yeah.
Because of
Yeah.
all the shit you went through, it's like you got this second chance,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, how could you possibly ignore something you truly love, something you truly feel a calling to? How could you ignore that?
Right. Right. And I wouldn't change any of the experiences for the world. I think it set up myself for dealing with the hardships that I have to deal with today. Um, having resiliency, and that's a lot of what the Nicodemus project is about. It's about this like there were a lot of demons inside of me after all that stuff.
Mm,
And what really got me into therapy was just realizing that not dealing with those things was hurting myself and my relationships with people around me at the time, right after high school. And we can either like see our past and our not necessarily flaws, but like our weaknesses. We can see them as true weakness or a negative thing in our lives. But if we can learn to embrace our dark times and our darkness, which is what that period of my life was, you can create something so strong and unique and powerful that no one can stop you. No one can
mm,
stop you. And that's the idea of the Nicodemus. It's this panther, it's this figure that is with us at all times that, man, it looks scary, but if you can tame it and embrace it in the right way, it is such a power to you. And that's the idea of the Nicodemus. That's the duality. So yeah, that I wouldn't trade it for the world. You know, that's part of the brand. That's part of my story, and that's part of the story I want to share. And I will say this: there's a lot of letdown and rejection in the music industry, and I think going through all of that really set me up well for being able to deal with that. And I get upset for a bit, and then I'm like, okay, on to the next thing. Like this is part of the path. This is part of what I wanted to pursue, and I love the music so much, and I want to share my message in such a strong way that, like I said, there's really nothing that can stop you if you learn to embrace those dark times and darkness within you in the right way. Um, and yeah, it took me a while to get there. Like I said, there were always doctors and my parents saying, "You need to go see someone. Like you are gonna have a lot of trouble if you don't." And it's that like, kind of like masculine thing of we think we're strong, we think, fuck emotions, all that, doesn't matter. Like, I can get through it. Mr. Strong. But yeah, I was really starting to, I think, hurt people in my
Mm.
life around me, which, I never wanted to. And yeah, there were a couple of turning points in my life after that where I was like, okay, I really need to see a proper therapist. And shout out to her because I was with her for like, I had to take a pause recently due to some health insurance issues. When you turn 26, that's a fucking nightmare. But yeah, I was going through like almost 6 or 7 years every week, every other week.
Mm.
And I mean, it was life changing for me,
Yeah.
for sure.
I shout out good therapist.
Yeah.
I remember when I first started going to therapy, I was just like, "Whoa, I
Yeah.
could talk to people about
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
so much better." Um, and I love kind of how you explain the brand, the duality, the panther, and taming the demons. I love the word tame.
Yeah.
It's like it's not pushing them away. It's not getting rid of them.
Correct.
It's controlling them in a way and like helping and using them, leveraging them to make you stronger.
Right. Because I don't think, you know, we should try to, like you say, push it away. Or these are experiences that are part of my life that happened to me. Like I have the scars to show it. They'll never go away. So
I
yeah.
love that, dude.
Yeah.
So strong. Like so it's like spiritual in a way too. It's yeah. It's amazing to hear. I've probably said this before already, but it's amazing to hear what you've been through and to like have this mindset. No regrets. Just like
Yeah.
this is what it
Yeah.
was. It's so inspiring to hear that.
I'm really means a lot. Really
Yeah.
means a lot. Thank you. Um,
Let's talk about you mentioned a lot of rejection and a lot of no's in this industry. I want to talk about the one time, the first time maybe, that there was a yes. To do this, I'm gonna play a song just
yeah.
to
Yeah.
jog your
Yeah.
memory. Um, I'm also gonna put it over in so it sounds better on the
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
But skip to about here. Oh yeah,
You
dude.
hit the nail on the head with this one. Yeah.
All right, we'll pause that. I don't like bringing a phone, but it was important. So obviously, I know the context. I don't have the full
Yeah.
context, but tell the listeners what they're hearing and why this is so important slash pivotal.
Yeah, that was like the first big yes. I had done some other things here and there, but like that was the first big yes. And
What was it?
it was so that's yeah, my remix of Where I Want to Be for Big Gigantic that got officially released on their remix album. It's probably like 5 years ago now, maybe even more. Yeah, that was the first big yes. And I'm forever grateful to them.
Yeah.
They're awesome, awesome guys. I have always been a huge fan of their music, and it was literally a cold email.
You have the email?
Oh man, I feel like I don't because I've gone through
If you
so many.
don't,
I've
that's
gone through
fine.
so many
Do
different
you
phones at
remember
this
it? I'm
point.
so curious.
Yes, I do remember exactly what it was because this was a process that I was basically rinsing and repeating of, okay, I'm going to, um, oh wow, I may have it.
For context, everyone,
Yeah, go ahead.
Nick sent a cold email to Big Gigantic's team in 2020 asking for or asking to make an official remix. And so right now he's looking for the email to see if he actually has it. If not, he'll paraphrase. But yeah.
I'm very close to where it was. I can't find the exact initial email, but basically this is what I was doing was like I would go to release radar on Spotify. I would see like what are the new songs that are being released that are kind of in my wheelhouse of bass music, maybe mid tempo, which I was doing a lot of at the time. And Big Gigantic had released something new, and I was like, okay, I the only way I'm gonna get my foot in the door is just by taking a stab at things and asking. So Went, found their management's email, sent an email, said, "Hey, my name is Nikademis. I'm a bass music producer from Long Island at the time. Moved to Denver about 3 years ago. So I was still in my bedroom at my parents' house, and I just said, love the new song. You know, I would love to take a stab at remixing it if there's any opportunity. Um, this is some stuff I released. This is what I've got coming up. Let me know." That's it. And I would send like tons of these emails out, and yeah, you don't really get a response from anyone,
Sure.
but I got a response from them, from their management, and they're like, "Yeah, sure." I guess they had checked out my stuff, thought it was cool, and yeah, I had some stuff out, and I think that's important too. If you're gonna do this, like, you need to have something that showcases like what direction you're taking. And the management sent over the stems, and it was just on spec, meaning like, try it. If we like it, we'll take it. If not, it is what it is. Thank you for trying. Um, yeah, they sent over the stems, and I was like, "Wow, this is crazy."
Yeah, what
Yeah,
take me to that
yeah,
moment.
yeah. I
You
was
sounds
like,
like you said so many of these, and you get
yeah,
a
yeah,
response from, like, Big Gigantic, which is a big name.
yeah. It was like shocking. It was shocking because I really did not have a lot to show for at the time, but I think I just had enough where they could get an idea of my sound and my direction.
Where were you? What was your reaction to this?
I think I was at home in my bedroom, and I was just like, "Wow." But I've always been the type of guy that's like, I don't like to count my chickens before they hatch.
Okay.
I do not get excited until I have like a contract in front of me and I'm signing a piece of paper type
Mm.
thing, or it's like on Spotify. So yeah, I was stoked, but I was also like, wow, I hope I do something good. And then yeah, I came up with that idea, which was like the first drop. Um, and they were digging it. And then next thing I knew, I was like going back and forth with their team, like making adjustments. They had some notes, and I was like, sure, yeah, whatever the fuck you guys want. Yeah. Um, so, but yeah, that they let me do my thing, which was awesome because
Mm.
like that was like a sound that I was really pursuing, that mid-tempo, like sustained sounds, even though it was more of a dubstep, kind of tempo. But I didn't hear anything after that for like, must have been like 9 months. And I was like, okay, this is probably falling through. Like, it is what it is.
After you submitted it to
Yeah,
them?
after I
Okay.
sent them like the final version of it. And what's crazy is I was like this close to taking out the remix parts and making it into an original song,
Oh.
um, which is like a common thing that I think a lot of us bass music producers do. We'll like start something with a different vocal, or it'll be a remix, maybe it falls through, and then we take our parts and turn it into an original, get another vocal on it maybe. So yeah, I was like right there. It was like ready for a vocalist, like a different vocalist. And then I get an email. They're like, "Hey, this is coming out like next week." And I was like, "Oh wow, that is crazy." I was like 10 months later, pretty much, I counted it out. I was like, "This is not happening. This is done."
Yeah.
And yeah, next thing I know, I'm on Big Gigantic's remix album off of a random cold email, which was just crazy. And I'm like so grateful to them forever for that. So
Yeah.
grateful to them because it's those wins that really, really propel you forward in this, in this line of work. So
Was that the
yeah,
first well, that's an awesome story.
yeah,
I have so much respect for a cold email, cold DM, it's how I hit you
yeah,
up.
yeah, yep,
Like, in my life, I've used cold emails to that have worked to get me random things.
yeah.
So, like, a lot of respect,
And
and
that
for
that
those out there,
that 1% of the time that it hits, it is so amazing,
yeah,
so
it's
amazing.
life-changing, it's
Yeah, yeah, it
life-changing.
really is.
Like, I mean, I guess I'll give this brief story, like, my last
Yeah,
job I got was from a cold email, and,
that's awesome, that's
like,
awesome.
people, if you're out there, like, just send the thing.
Yeah, that's why
Like,
I always say just do it, and
just do
if
it.
no if they don't respond to you, it's not even usually personal either. It's just like they get a million emails, so don't get hung up over like the no's and the like. It's not personal. Just move on to the next thing. And yeah, I'm glad that really glad that I did that. Yeah.
Incredible. So that was, like, the first kind of big yes, right?
Yeah, I would say so. I had done, shout out Cap Slap. I had done a remix for him that was official. That was like one of my first releases, and I'm also forever grateful to him because that really was one of the really, really first yeses, but that was, like, a different sound.
Mm.
Very, very
Mhm.
different, like, future-based sound, not really the direction that I ended up, pursuing. So, that was, like, the first big remix that was like, "Okay, this is the Nikademis sound." Like, I still play that remix
Yeah.
in my sets, however
It
many
goes
years
hard.
later. So, thanks,
It's
man.
great,
Thank you.
dude.
Yeah.
I'll listen to it in the car all the time.
Thanks. Thanks.
Um, can you talk more about that? Like how the sound developed?
Yeah, I always loved electro house and complextro, like, dark bass sounds. Of course, that's at, like, 128 BPM, though, and, like, that sound was really starting to fade out, in terms of its marketability and popularity, and I just knew that I couldn't push that sound anymore because I felt like it was kind of there's always gonna be a market for it, like, there's people that still enjoy it, I still love it, but, it wasn't really just being played out on dance floors as much anymore, and, um, I remember going on Proximity and hearing, um, Hex by Rez and 1788L, and I was like, "Wow, this has the same, like, dark bass sounds of, like, electro house and complextro and all that stuff, and, like, distorted grungy sounds like that Wolfgang Gartner did a lot of that I really, really enjoyed, but it's at a different tempo. It's
Mm.
at, like, around 100 BPM, and people are really digging this right now. It's, like, more marketable, so I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna take a stab at this type of thing," and this was, like, right before the pandemic hit. I started to make stuff like that, and then that is what really, stuck with me
Mm.
for quite a bit, and yeah, it was that like I said, that dark, distorted electro house sound, but almost in, like, a new way, and then at the time, I was starting to listen to, Blank, who was doing a lot of that stuff. Then I started listening to Illenium, which was, more melodic bass. He did have
Another
some
Nick.
Yeah, yeah, another Nick, did have some more bass heavy stuff for sure, and, like, yeah, once you go down that rabbit hole of bass music, like, I heard mid-tempo first, and then it just opened me to the whole world of bass music because I was mostly, um, like, doing the progressive house type thing to start out, the big
Mm.
room house, and, yeah, I found mid-tempo, and then it opened me to the whole world of bass music, so dubstep, melodic bass, all of that stuff, but, yeah, mid-tempo was, like, really it for me at first, and I was like, I'm gonna try this for a bit." And, yeah, that's where it really started with the bass heavy sounds, and then, I tried taking a stab at some of the melodic stuff eventually, and, yeah, I just spent a lot of time before the pandemic and then into the pandemic really honing in on that sound and
Mm.
trying to perfect it for myself.
And how did you know that was the sound?
I don't know, just felt it. Yeah, it was just a feeling of well, it was also some practical factors, like, I always make music for myself, of course, but I want to make something that I think other people will enjoy, and I saw people were really digging the mid-tempo stuff, and I felt like there was still more to explore, and I didn't feel like there were a ton of artists in the genre, but the sound was really popping off,
Mm.
you know? Um, so yeah, that's kind of why I pursued it, and like I said, always loved those dark, distorted bass sounds that, like, yeah, Wolfgang Gartner, Justice was a big one. They had a lot of that stuff in their music. I think they've been a massive influence for so many of us in bass music. So, yeah, that was kind of the thought behind that.
Mm.
Um, yeah.
Very
So,
cool. So that this is kind of mid-COVID, it sounds like, or during COVID.
yeah,
So you have
yeah.
but you had this big gigantic release prior. This is in 2020 was the big gigantic release? 'Cause you
No,
said
so
like
that
5 years ago?
that was like right in the middle of it, probably.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I had like before that, I had already put out a couple of like
Got it.
mid-tempo tracks. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So
So
then help us bridge the gap between, that finding your sound to I mean, where you are, where you've been and where you're going the last couple of
yeah,
years.
yeah. I started to release that mid-tempo stuff. I released a song called Lights Out, which was just pure like industrial hard-hitting mid-tempo. And that was the track that started to kind of put me on the map in terms of, it's not like it got huge plays, but it got
Mm,
me noticed by a couple of artists.
mm,
And yeah, then it was after that, that's when I was cold emailing and stuff. But I realized that where I was really lacking, and I still could improve upon this, was the networking. Like for years before, I had just been making music, putting it out like into the void on SoundCloud, and I wasn't connecting with other artists. I wasn't showing my music to managers and whatnot. So um, partially because I'm like so introverted, I was like afraid to
mm,
reach out,
mhm,
and that's something that I'm still trying to break out of a bit.
mm,
Uh, but yeah, during the pandemic, these artists started doing these demo feedback Twitch streams because there were no live person things going on. One of the real ways to interact is doing these Twitch streams, of course. And I was very lucky to get my music listened to by Blank, like Lights Out. He listens to that, and that got me noticed by him, um, along with some of, I had some kind of friends that I had made in that mid-tempo circle who also knew him, and yeah, I got my song in his stream, and people were all, like, hyping me up, and then he loved the song, and that, um, yeah, got me connected with him, and then Illenium did one, and somehow out of, like, over 800 demos, Lights Out got picked, and he uh, really liked it on the stream, and he followed me on Twitter after, and I was like shitting my pants, because he was like, you know, I I looked up to his music so much, and I still do, of course. So yeah, that was like those were some big pieces for me, big turning points, and then yeah, I kind of kept in touch with Illenium over the DMs, and then eventually his Fallen Embers album came out, um, and I was like, "Okay, I gotta take a stab at remixing something from this." I chose the song "You and Me" because it was kind of in my wheelhouse, and I didn't have stems or anything, I just, ripped the vocal,
mm.
um, and yeah, I made a remix, sent it to him. He was digging it, sent me stems back, and then that was another thing where, you're just always holding your breath, like, is the opportunity gonna go through? Because it's just you
Yeah.
never know. Same thing with the big gigantic thing, like holding my breath, and yeah, eventually it came out, and that was something that really kickstarted things for me, I feel,
Mm.
and I am forever, forever grateful to him and his team for, like, all the support they have shown me and that
Shout out
initial.
Illenium.
Yeah, yeah,
Hey, brother. We're in Denver.
thanks, bro. Yeah, Millennium and the
He's
whole team, appreciate you guys, because I was like a nobody, like,
yeah,
literally a nobody,
yeah.
so and he gave me that opportunity, and, yeah, that's really, what kind of kickstarted the journey. That was one of my first more, like, melodic things as
Mm.
well, was, like, the first drop of that song, and, yeah, I just kind of kept evolving and riffing off of that, uh, pretty much those sounds from there, and
So, if I can
yeah,
interject,
yeah, of
you
course, go ahead.
mentioned a lot of, like, holding your breath, and my mind went back to, like, the anxiety piece.
Yeah.
Like, how do you manage to, like, stay cool, calm, collected, or maybe you don't, when you send something to Illenium and you're waiting to see if it, like
Oh
if it's
my
gonna
god.
if he likes it?
Yeah, it's very nerve-wracking, and, like, um I just always try to make sure, like, when I'm sending things out that I really feel like it's my best work, I think, you know, what do they say? Like, luck is a combination of timing and preparation, and I feel like that's what those moments were for me. I certainly got lucky, but I felt like I was prepared for those moments.
Mm,
Otherwise, yeah, it's just like you just gotta, you know, you also have to, I think, come to terms with whatever outcome it may be. Like, there's the outcome that you send something to a bigger artist, they may love it. There's another outcome that they don't dig it. But there will always be more opportunities. There will
mm,
always be more opportunities. And that's something I always told myself because I think there were times I didn't capitalize on certain opportunities in my career, and more opportunities have always come. Just because I think that, I have the passion and I have the love for it so hard that I'm just always going to keep pushing, you know? So, yeah, I mean, it's nerve-wracking for sure, it's anxiety-inducing, but, yeah, just being as prepared as I can, I
Mm,
think was the best thing that you can do to deal with that.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. So a couple big breaks from
Yeah,
some big
yeah,
artists. Not because, well, sure, it's a degree of luck, but to your point, it's timing and preparation,
yeah,
and
yeah.
you showed up, right? If you hadn't sent all those cold emails, probably wouldn't have sent one to Big Gigantic. If
Yeah,
you didn't just
yeah.
take your shot and send music to Illenium, might not have been wouldn't have been played,
My
you
god,
know?
there were so many fucking demos in that Discord channel for
Right.
that for that demo feedback. I think his assistant kinda recognized my name, as well, which was dope because I had been lurking around in the blank stream, as well, so I that was definitely helpful, and yeah, it's that idea of putting yourself out there, like, you definitely need to start to put yourself out there, for
Yeah.
sure. Don't stay too closed off like I did for a long time,
You hear that,
so
people? Send stuff.
yeah, just
Fire
send
cold
it.
emails.
Yeah,
Just do the thing.
yeah, yeah,
Like Nick is saying that there's always more opportunities.
yeah, yeah.
It's like, send stuff to Nick.
Yeah, 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 send stuff to me anytime. I'm always happy to listen.
Cool. So where are we at today? Because I think from like those big breaks, a lot's happened, especially this last year. And I
Yeah.
would love for you to touch on some of the big highlights, including a big first headline and
Yes.
all this
Yeah.
beautiful stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I think a really big piece for me was, meeting my current manager, Vin, who is the absolute man. I love him to death, and
Funny story.
yeah, yeah.
Do you know Tom Blue or Blossom
Yes.
knows Vin?
Yes.
I
Yeah, yeah.
didn't know
Yeah.
this. He was sitting in that chair like last week and he shouts out Vinny. And I'm chilling with Tommy at he opened for Stellar.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like, by
yeah.
the way, do you know Nikademis? He's like, yeah, like Vin is the guy I used to work with. And I was
Yeah.
like, dude, no way. It's like he's coming on the show.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So Vin, everyone loves you, brother.
Yeah, he's the man. He's the man. He's an absolute, just crate digger on SoundCloud, and that's how he found me. I mean, I don't know. He finds all these artists with like so little following that have a ton of potential, and that's how he found me, and that's how he felt about me that I had a lot of potential. I had gone through some other managers at the time, which I had gone through another management company as well, and that company at the time helped get me connected with Slander, which I am forever grateful for. That
Oh
helped me.
yeah, I don't want to gloss over that.
Yeah, yeah,
Please talk about that.
yeah, that helped me get my collab with them, but yeah, I didn't start I'll go back to that, but I didn't start working with Vin, until a little like, we had connected and stuff, but it took a couple of years for us to really start working together, and he just believes in me, like, more than I believe in myself most days. He
Mm,
believes in me to death, and he, like me, was another guy who didn't really have connections in the music industry, but knew he wanted to be a part of it and just loves the music tremendously and has the same amount of passion, if not more than I do. And I think that's why we click so well because we just love this shit to death. And we just have similar stories of yeah, we weren't handed anything in music, you know. All the
mm.
connections we have, we built ourselves, and he did it by hooking up DJs with sneakers, you know. He's a huge sneakerhead, and yeah, when we came together, it just felt like it just clicked. It just clicked, and yeah, he's the man, and has helped me so tremendously, and he was a big help in setting up that headline show, of course, the first one in Arizona. I had had some smaller shows before that, but this was the true Nicodemus debut as it is today, and it was I just like I'm still shocked that people even came through the door for me. It was
Really?
unbelievable. Yeah, so
Why are you shocked?
it's just so surreal to think that, you know, people are coming to see me do my thing. That feels like such a tremendous honor for someone to buy a ticket, get out the door, wanting to like time is very precious for me and like to want to spend their time there. And there's so many artists like in every city. There's so many shows going on every weekend. So yeah, it was extremely humbling and honoring to like have that be successful and shout out to Relentless Beats for having me. It was awesome.
It
So
So while
yeah.
you're playing that show, What's going through your head? Is it like, "Holy shit, this is actually
Yeah,
happening?"
it was so much fun. One of the best nights of my life for sure. Yeah, it and just like I don't think I messed up one transition that night, which was crazy. So, most people don't notice when you mess up transitions anyway. But yeah, it was awesome. It really came together so perfectly. Um, yeah, it just like an immense amount of happiness of like, wow, all of this that I've been working for, I'm not gonna say it was like wasn't like 1,000, 5,000 person room, but it was like something, and it was the start of something. So even though I've been doing this for a while, like to get to that point, it's been a lot of work, and to see that pay off is just with like, some of my closest people around me, like Vin and my girlfriend Tori. It was really, really dope. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Dude, that's incredible. And you had another
Um
one in SF?
Yeah, I had another one in SF, and then we did here in Denver at Larimer Lounge,
Yeah,
which I've been
Larimer.
trying to get into for a while, and I'm extremely grateful for those opportunities here. So yeah, it's been a really cool year. I think there's been some ups and downs for sure. We've been trying to figure out the social media thing, which has been a little difficult for me just because I am more introverted. Like I said, I don't
Mm.
get in front of the camera that much, and I also just like keeping it real and keeping it authentic and trying to figure out like what the authentic way to do the social media thing for me has been a little challenging. But I think we're pretty much there.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
one of the things that I really wanna commend you on as well. When we sat down for coffee, that it was very clear you cared so much about, like, showing up and authentically in the world.
yeah, yeah,
And I think it's one of the reasons you wanted to do this podcast to tell your story your way.
yeah, yeah.
And where does that come from? And why do you think some artists maybe steer away from that?
Um, where it comes from, I think, is how I was raised. I was raised to always give it my all with everything I do and always be the best I can be. And I just like I think authenticity resonates with people even on a subconscious level, whether
Mm,
they realize it or not. I think passion um is something that comes across, and like it is a beautiful thing to have passion for something, like such an immense amount of passion for something. I think artists stray from it because like we get caught up in the dopamine rush of wanting views and wanting
mm,
popularity, and um straying from it, it's like it doesn't mean it's necessarily immediately going to result in huge views, but we live in this world where like everything is just fake. It feels like you go onto Instagram between people trying to fake stuff for views and people trying to fake stuff for likes. And now the rise of AI, which is like
mhm.
even more, it's like completely fake. I mean, I think that almost like being authentic and coming back to reality is now something different,
Mm.
which is crazy to me. But that's just always kind of the person that I've been, and it's something that I'll continue to lean into because I want people to like know that my music and my shows, it's a place to hear something real, hear something from the heart. Everything I make, it comes from the heart. Even the silly skits that I do on social media sometimes, like it's all like it's all my dry, stupid humor and stuff. So even that stuff is real, but um,
I'm
yeah,
laughing
yeah,
because the image of you throwing a coffee at the windshield, "Hey, come to my Larimer show," is
yeah,
playing in my head right now.
yeah, yeah. It's
Go
like
watch
that's
that Instagram video, people.
that was like a trend that was going around, but that's also the New Yorker in me because I've been in I've been in that spot where like you're crossing the street in New York and you want to throw a coffee at someone. So I was like, wow, yeah, that's still me, that grumpy New Yorker. There's a bit of that in me too. So yeah, that it's just about, I think, for the social media learning to keep it real, keep it authentic, but still enjoy it and have fun with it and showcase the music in the way you want. But yeah, it's certainly like enticing to just go for views and
Yeah, have you ever
um,
felt tempted to just, like, deviate from that authenticity?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And even with my sound at times, like you hear certain sounds that are popping off right now, and Um, anytime I've maybe steered towards it a little bit, even just like in the studio messing around with those sounds, like it hasn't felt right for me. And kudos to all the artists that are like getting big, just being authentic with their sound and getting massive views just off of their sounds. I've seen it, some artists really pop off in the last year or two that are just like great people and they are authentic and they are getting, popular off of their own thing. And that is like so amazing to watch. And I'm so happy for them. And I'm just gonna continue to try to build that for myself. And I think you build longevity this way by keeping it real too. So even if you're not getting big immediately, I think that's how you build longevity. And
Totally.
yeah, kind of a grassroots movement is what I want to create. So
It's obvious to me, right? Like I could see the path that you've been on and where you're headed, and it's incredible. And I
thanks,
do
man.
want to touch on kind of where you want to go, but I think before that, we'd be remiss not to mention the release with Slander.
Yeah, yeah. Easily like one of, if not the biggest moment of my career so far. I had made a few demos that um, were just kind of sitting around, and I knew one of them was really special.
Mm,
And my management at the time had a connection with Slander's team. She was like, "Let's just send over these demos. Like sometimes they're interested in them." And I was like, "Okay, sure." Did not expect anything of it, of course, because I mean they're huge, and they ended up really digging one of them. They took First of all, I was, like, shocked they took a listen because you send a lot of demos out and people don't even listen to them
mm,
to begin with, so it was awesome that they checked them out, and then, yeah, there was one that I had gotten word that, like, they might actually be interested in this idea you had started, and, yeah, it was just a rough idea at the time, but there were some bones there for something for sure, and then it was, like, such coincidental timing. I had moved to Denver in November of 2023, and literally, like, 2 weeks later, just as, like, we were going back and forth with this demo stuff, Slander was playing at Red Rocks, and my manager at the time was like, "Let me get you in, and you can go meet them." And I was even like, "Is this, like, really gonna happen?"
mm-hmm.
So, go to Red Rocks, and they, like, escort me down, and I go and meet, first I met Derek, who I was talking to about the song that, the idea I had started, and he was like, "This is an amazing idea," and he was just so unbelievably nice. Then I met Scott, also so unbelievably nice, just the best guys right
Shout
off
out
the bat.
Slander.
Yeah, like, love them to death. They've done so much for me, and Derek was like, "Let's stay in touch, like, I'm gonna figure out, like, if this is something we really wanna pursue," and then, yeah, sure enough, we just kept going back and forth over text, and next thing I know, he was sending me the next demo version that he had worked on, and I was like, "This is sounding great. I love it." Yeah, we kept going back and forth on a few versions, and, um, yeah, it was just surreal that, I was going back and forth with Slander on on a song idea, and then he texts me one day and he's like, "Yeah, so I've been connecting with Pooh Bear recently. I think I wanna get him on this song if possible." And I was like, "Oh my god. This is crazy." And yeah, next thing you know, we're getting a demo from Pooh Bear, getting the vocal done, getting the mix and master done, and I had gone back to Red Rocks to see them again
Mm.
the next year. So 1 year later,
Oh wow.
the song's done, and that just puts into perspective, like, how long of a process it can be to get, like, a whole song done.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Derek, he's like, "Yeah, so I think, like, I can't wait for this song, like, I think we should debut it, at Decadence." So I went with them to Decadence, Arizona, um, that New Year's, we debuted the song, and it was out 6 months later, and, it was just such a beautiful process to see it come to life, something so meaningful and so powerful, and with, Pooh Bear, who is, I mean, such a renowned singer and songwriter, and for them to give me that chance was just unbelievable. Because again, like, I was still a pretty small artist, you know? I had done a few of those remixes and stuff, but, yeah, for them to give me that opportunity, I know they definitely didn't know who I was when I sent them the demo.
Mm,
I was still making a name for myself, and, yeah, for them to give me that shot and the continuous support from them on the remixes and the shows, and you know, don't have enough good things to say about them, and Derek also has been a tremendous mentor to me, which I appreciate, you know, endlessly,
mm.
endlessly. So, yeah,
Yeah, can you tell me more about that? I was gonna ask about mentors and heroes.
yeah, he's been a tremendous mentor. You know, when I went to shoot some content with them in LA, him and Scott both had a lot of really wise words to share with me, and if I ever need to bounce things off of them, they're there for it, which is amazing because, of course, their experience is, I mean, just, you know, unbelievable.
Yeah,
They've had so much success over the years, and they've been through it all, you know, and
yeah.
to have that at my disposal is incredible, and just to have them there as friends as well
Mm.
is incredibly special, and I think that's one of the you know, just a side note, one of the biggest takeaways from being in the music industry is just, like, the friendships that I made along the way
Mm.
are probably the most special thing for me, but, yeah, also shout out to my friend Mike Harris. It's funny, I have 2 friends named Mike Harris. This is older Mike Harris who, was one of the first guys that believed in me when I was back on Long Island, and, he has tremendous wisdom as well that he shared with me,
Yeah, what did
and
their belief in you unlock in yourself?
I think belief in myself,
Mm,
you know? I've always had a bit of a self-confidence issue,
mm,
um, and that's something that I worked on in therapy for a long time, and I wanted to improve my confidence, but I didn't ever wanna come across as, like, braggy, you
mm,
know?
mhm.
Like, I just wanted to be confident in myself, but, yeah, I think I was so scared of acting, yeah, like, braggadocious type thing, so it was, like, they helped give me the confidence to do what I could do, and also, like, Mike gave me a lot of wisdom on how to handle situations that came up and, like, issues, and, you know, the mental game is so important in this, and how to handle that and the emotions that might come up, and not to make decisions when you're emotional type thing, because that's when bad things happen, and that was a huge lesson that he taught me that
Mm,
I holds with me still, and always will. So, yeah, it was really, like, instilling that self-confidence in
mm.
me, I think, and I still teeter with it quite a bit, you know, and having those people around you that can help build you up in those difficult moments is really important, and I'm beyond grateful to have that in my life.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
yeah.
Mike Harris, Slander team,
Yeah.
been
Been JP blank, another awesome guy who is, you know, giving me so many opportunities, him and his team, and, yeah, another guy who believes in me and helps build me up and has given me plenty of show opportunities,
yeah,
had the awesome opportunity to tour with Will Black, in the last couple of years, which has, yeah, been tremendous. So there's a lot of people that I owe a lot to with helping to put me on the map, and I'm very grateful for that. And now it's, you know, my time to show them that I can do this thing, you know.
oh,
So
you're doing it, dude.
thanks, man.
100%. How do you recommend people find mentors? Because I would agree mentors are so important.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I think part of it was like part of it was fate, which is crazy, you know. I think that certain things happen for a reason. And I know that's kind of like a non-answer because it's like, how do you find mentors? You know, like fate.
luck, fate.
Yeah, yeah. Like I think that Vin is one of those people that, and I know he feels the same way that we were brought together for a reason.
Mm,
And I think just if you're really looking for one, seek out people who have experience in what you're looking to accomplish. I think Mike didn't have experience necessarily in a huge amount in the music industry, but he had experience in terms of wisdom and the mental game, which is at the time what I really needed.
Mm,
What I really needed. And then, just trying to be kind and be friendly to people who are like that you're looking to learn from.
mm,
And like if you're looking to learn from someone in the industry, go to them with open arms and like genuinely like let them know like, "Hey, I just want to learn from you.
mm,
I don't want a collab opportunity, I don't want a show opportunity, nothing. Like I just want to know like how can I better do what I want to do or get towards my goal, you know? And maybe they will give you an opportunity along the way, but
like cold email, cold DM?
yeah, yeah, and just give it a shot, if there's someone you want to learn for. And if they're not open to it, like that's okay, that's fine.
Mm,
But yeah, I'm very very fortunate that I feel like those people that really were huge mentors to me were brought into my life for a reason. And yeah, they've just helped tremendously,
yeah,
tremendously. Uh, so
cool. So, where are you going? Right? Like, I feel like you're riding this wave and things are your trajectory is going higher and higher. Like, we've talked about all these beautiful things that are happening and all these heroes in your life that have helped you get here. Where in the next 5 years do you wanna be?
I want to, um, you know, spread the message, spread the story, really hone in on creating the brands. I think the brand is the story. I think I was confused about that for a long time.
Mm,
And, of course it's the visuals, which we've really started to hone in on as well. But the brand is the story, and what that has created for me in my life in terms of those life lessons and, that duality about embracing the darkness. And I want to spread that far and wide and try to help people in that way and spread the authenticity and the realness. In terms of the music itself, definitely have sights on an album in the next year or two for sure that
ooh,
I want to get going on. I think telling one cohesive story like in an album with the music is really important, especially in the melodic bass arena. And I really just want to try to push the envelope in terms of melodic bass. And that for me is a very tall order and
mm,
something that I think is going to be very difficult for myself because I already love melodic bass the way it's been, but I do just want to push the envelope and starting to try to. I don't know exactly what that looks like yet. I think I've really, honed in on what my sound and melodic bass is. And now it's like, okay, how can we push this further? How
mm,
can we make something even more unique and something more fresh out of it? And that's something I'm going to focus on. And yeah, trying to push sound design with dubstep too, which I think is even tougher because there's so many guys who are doing it in an unbelievable manner and are
yep.
so technically skilled with that stuff. And yeah, that's something I want to hone in on as well.
Yeah, what so
Yeah.
you said you don't really know how it's gonna look, but do you have any ideas? Because like, as someone that was started on melodic bass, it's, like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
core in my heart, I'm just curious.
Yeah. It's going to be infusing some fresh sounds for
Mm,
sure. Some really fresh sounds and fresh structure as well, which I'm already kind of starting to touch on a bit with some of my upcoming music. You know, And a big part of Nicodemus too has been infusing the dark and the light, and there's been a lot of, I think, in the past couple of years, like, okay, let's put a heavy dubstep drop with a beautiful melodic drop. And that's something I want to do more of.
mm,
And I want to really, really focus on making that transition within the tracks just something that's so like beautiful and seamless because that's again what like the duality of Nicodemus is all about is, embracing the darkness, finding the light within the dark type thing. And I want to really, really work at like bridging that gap even more within my songs and also within my sets. So you're gonna see some heavy, you're gonna see some melodic, but I think um yeah, really honing in on how we bridge those two worlds. Uh,
I love
so
that so much.
yeah,
Selfishly, I
thanks,
love
man.
that so
Yeah,
much. Like I love what it stands for. I love the idea. I'm very curious to see how it turns out.
yeah,
It's
thanks,
like
man. Yeah,
I'm a sad boy at heart, you know? Like I know I don't know, you
yeah,
used to
yeah.
call yourself a sad boy. I don't know if you still do,
Yeah,
but
no, I definitely do. And I think I really started to embark on that journey with like bridging the dark and the light with my Illenium remix, and then yeah, I did this remix for Dabin of his song "Worlds Away." Shout out him as well for all the
how did we
support.
forget?
And yeah, I think that really started to set me up well for that idea of like heavy and melodic, and now I just want to really hone in on that even more. So definitely more of that to come. Yeah.
Do you play piano?
I do. I'm no Beethoven by any means, but yeah, that was one thing that I did learn from that 1 year of music school at
Mm,
Stevens. I didn't learn much in terms of like technical skill.
mm.
I really learned more of that on my own. But I did go deeper into music theory, and I did take a few piano classes, and that was something that helped me really tremendously because I was always just like hearing music, but I didn't know what it meant in terms of the keyboard. And then when I
Mm.
learned that and could start to play basic chords, basic melodies, yeah, that was really groundbreaking for me. And now most of my melodic ideas start on the piano. Um, but yeah,
Okay.
I could not go like perform a concert or anything, but
Sure.
it's enough to do what I need to do.
So you're a
Yeah,
proponent of music theory.
absolutely.
Okay.
I don't think you need to like if this is what you want to do, I don't think you need to go into the classical stuff, counterpoint necessarily. I learned it. I can't remember a lot of it, but understanding at least basic music theory, I think, is extremely helpful. Also for collaborating with other artists, because when they start shouting out um, names of chords and stuff like that, it's helpful. Not necessary, but I think it helped me a lot. So
That's really good to know. I
yeah,
know
yeah.
the jury's still out on on
Yeah, yeah,
music
no,
theory or
there's
not.
a lot of producers that don't even bother with it, and I wouldn't have bothered with it if I didn't, you know, have to take those classes for that 1 year of school. But I think if you have the capacity to do it, go ahead. You know,
Yeah.
it's helpful for sure.
Okay. That's helpful, like painting the vision. So
Yeah, yeah.
like in the next 5 years, and if it all goes well, what does that tangibly look like? Are you headlining? You've gotten an album, you've toured?
Yeah, album and tour and, um, being able to fill more rooms. Yeah. Yeah, that's what it looks like for me, right now, but really it's helping people. That's
Mm,
that's really the vision, and, I mean, it's hard to quantify that, right? Because, sometimes you get people reaching out to you in your DMs and saying, "This song helped me tremendously, your music has helped me tremendously," which is just, like, that means everything to me. Um But yeah, it's harder to quantify that. It's easier to quantify the success of a tour, right? Because it's just tickets and seeing people through the door. But that was never really the goal was to, get bodies through the door. It was to spread my music far and wide in a way that can help people. And that's really it. Would I love to support myself off of music? Of course. That would be a dream come true. But the yeah, the real biggest goal and end goal is just to help people the way that it helped me. Because there's man, especially nowadays, it feels like, and maybe it's just because media has connected us so much more. There's so much suffering, and it's really tough out here for so many people. And music has a healing property that you and I were talking about this that I think is completely unique and honestly a bit like underrated. It really can get people through and bring people back from the darkest of times, and I only know because it did for me, and, I hope it can do that for other people, so or I hope that my music can do that for other people.
I
Uh,
just want to pause there because like that is so deep. And, like I was getting emotional, like my eyes were starting to water as you were like, yeah. I want to headline, I want to release an album, but actually, I really want to help people.
yeah,
Like
uh,
that is so telling of your character and it like touches me on such a deep level because I also in a similar vein like want to help people and part of the reason why I'm doing this podcast is to hopefully inspire some people that
yeah,
are at
yeah,
home or maybe feeling a little bit lost. And that was something that, came through when we were sitting down for coffee the other day. Like, you genuinely wanna help people, and it is you just said it. Like, I can't say it better than you, but it's like, you're like, "No, it's actually to help people," and
Yeah. Yeah.
I really wanna give you props for that because that
Thanks,
is an
man.
incredibly rare quality.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's not like it's not a platform I stand on to try to sell more tickets. It's really just the truth. It's really what I want to do, because I've been afraid people are gonna see that way. I've been afraid at times to tell my story because I'm afraid people are gonna be like, "Oh, it's just a sob story." He's just telling a sob story to try to, gain more popularity. But this is I realized like in the last year, this is my truth, and I have to share it because like that's what art is all about, is sharing your truth. Really, and sharing your story. Um, Story is like if you have story, you can do anything. Um, and yeah, I think that um, it's always just been the goal to help people. So
And everyone
yeah,
has a story.
yeah, yeah. Everyone has a story. Everyone
Yeah.
has a unique story and a different story. You've got a story which I love, and I appreciate you doing this and looking to help people in the same way. Uh,
Thank
So
you.
yeah, that's really what the next 5 years hopefully looks like, and it's going to require a lot of hard work. But this is what I love, and it does feel like hard work at sometimes. But when you love it and you're passionate about it, that's what's always going to keep you going. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I had a question in my head. I'm just gonna try to spit it out. We'll see if it sounds
Okay.
good. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
curious, like, half lost it, but I'm curious, do you have any, like, words of inspiration or advice for maybe some other artists that, don't know how to share their story or yeah, just, like, maybe can benefit from the depths that you've gone and how vulnerable have been and how you've come out from the other side. Like maybe I imagine there are people dealing with similar stuff that don't know how to begin to share or don't know what to do next.
Yeah.
And you're someone that's kind of traversed those lows.
Yeah, I mean, it took me a long time to really like I've always shared like breadcrumbs, but I never really provided the full picture until more recently, and especially through this, podcast, I've shared a lot of detail. I would just say, you know, like share as much as you want. Everyone's entitled to share as much as they want. They don't have to, but there's someone out there that you could help that's going
Mm,
through similar things. I got messages from people, including yourself, saying like, "I have IBD, I have colitis, I've my lung collapse too," and they feel comforted by that. I would say, you know, if you're being authentic, if you're being true and honest, there is nothing to fear.
mm,
There's nothing to fear, and anyone who has anything to say about you just being open and honest with your story and being authentic, if they have something, negative to say about it or something judging to say about it and maybe a way that's not so great, that is, that's their prerogative.
mm.
That's for them to deal with. And yeah, I think it's also like you kind of know when the time is right deep down too.
Back
Yeah.
to that knowing.
Yeah,
This is
yeah,
the
yeah.
theme.
Yep.
We have a strong sense of knowing. Yeah, beautiful, really.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
I'm curious who Nick is outside of
Yeah.
producer, and I know you mentioned, you do video production by day.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know you're a big F1 fan. Every picture I see you, you have your F1 hat
Yeah, yeah.
on.
Oh,
Like, tell
yeah.
me about who you are when you're not producing.
Yeah. Well, I have to say first, like, I have my girlfriend Tori, who we've been together for almost 3 years, and she's just a tremendous support. I
Mm,
spend a lot of time with her, and yeah, I appreciate her endlessly because this is a very weird lifestyle, especially with traveling for a day job too. It's like you're traveling for music and for day job. I travel to conferences all around the country to run audio and video and do live stream broadcasts in the medical world and pharmaceutical world. So that's pays the bills,
yeah.
and she's incredibly supporting of all of it and the absolute chaos that somehow comes together and makes my life work. So yeah, incredibly appreciative for her and
Yeah.
spend a lot of time with her. But yeah, I have always been a huge, huge hockey fan. I'm a diehard New York Islander fan, till the day I die. And my dad's a New York Ranger fan, so we have a bit of an in-house rivalry. I played ice hockey for about 10 years, from like around second grade to 10th grade when I had the medical stuff. Even for a while, I wanted to be an NHL goalie.
Mm.
So yeah, I was always dreaming big. I was always dreaming big. But yeah, I'm still a huge hockey fan, huge, huge fan. And then got into Formula One racing. Right around also around the time of the pandemic, yeah, around 2019, 2020, and I have just been in love with it ever since. I think because it reminds me of robotics in high school, which I loved. It's
Mm.
like, okay, 10 teams, now there's gonna be 11 next year, but it's like they all have the parameters, and you guys have to build the best car that you can, and you've got 2 drivers that have to do the best they can, and there's so much strategy to it, and there's a lot of politics, but I almost find the politics interesting of
Mhm.
how it affects the racing. So, yeah, I think it's just the idea of, like, it's racing, but it's a team sport too. Um, so, yeah, it's something that I've really gotten into over the last few years, and it's very cool to see, like, I've been wearing this F1 hat for years, and slowly over the years, more people are starting to talk to me about F1. Like, in the airports, they'll stop me, they'll say, "Oh, who's your driver? Who's your team?"
Yeah, who's your
See
driver or
that
team?
Max Verstappen is my
'Kay.
driver. Yeah, and I was a fan of him before he started winning all the championships. I just love greatness, and
Mm.
he is just the epitome of greatness, at least in our generation, in my opinion.
Mm.
I like Red Bull team. I'm not as big of a fan of the team as am of just Verstappen. Wherever he goes, I will be a fan of him. I think what he does on and off track, like he just like in all of his interviews, he keeps it real, keeps it authentic. He doesn't give into noise and drama and stuff, and that like really resonates with me because I'm the same way.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean his talent is just unmatched in my opinion. So yeah, it's fun to, like I'm a very introverted guy, but if someone stops me and wants to talk F1, you have me. Like, I will talk to you for an hour.
So the strategy
Um,
for anyone that's gonna reach out to you cold after this episode is just lead with F1 and you've have 'em
Absolutely.
hooked.
Yeah, yeah, start talking F1 with me, and then, you know, we can get into music, but I'll probably just steer it back to F1, honestly.
No pun
So,
intended.
yeah, yeah, yep,
Oh,
yeah,
that's good. I love
yeah.
that. I
So,
also really in a similar vein, I also really admire greatness
yeah.
and what goes into that mindset. Um, why I'm interviewing people like yourself, right? Like,
Thanks, man. Yeah,
just
yeah.
so fascinated by that, and I think other people are too. It's funny. I'm not that big in F1, but I started to watch, like, paying attention loosely when Drive to Survive came out on Netflix,
Yeah, yeah, that I think that did it for a lot of people,
and
yeah.
that was like this is again one of the reasons why I started the podcast was F1 Drive to Survive,
Really?
right?
That's
Yeah,
awesome, that's
yeah,
awesome, yeah.
because you took a sport like F1, and that whole story is fascinating if you're interested in the sport. Like,
Yeah.
Google why the Drive to Survive documentary came out, but basically it was a marketing play.
Right.
The
Right.
private equity firm took over F1. They said, "Hey, we need to boost viewership engagement. How do we do that? Oh, like let's create a special and document the behind the scenes, right? Because
Yes.
people
Yeah.
care about drivers, sure, who wins, who loses, but what do they actually care about? They want to know who the driver is
Right.
behind, like outside of the race car.
Yeah.
How do we
Yeah.
document all of that, right? And so that was one of the inspirations for this podcast. It's like, great, we could get DJs, for 10 minutes behind after their set and interview them. But who are they like when they're not like just sitting here?
Right.
Like who are they
Yeah.
actually?
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
was one piece of inspiration.
That's awesome. I didn't know that. Yeah, it's and it really helps you learn what the sport was too. But yeah, you learn what all the drivers are about, and it's like that gets you so much more invested in the sport too, because
Yes.
it's like you know what these guys are fighting for. I mean, they are born and bred to do this, and I like when you work your whole life towards that one goal, and when you achieve that, like the level of greatness, I think is just unbelievable. And guys like Lewis Hamilton, guys like Max, Sebastian Vettel, who have done it so many times in a row with the world championship, is just incredible to me. You know what it takes to do that at the highest level. So
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, it was a genius idea, the series, and
Genius.
it certainly has become a little more dramatized as
Sure.
time has gone on, and that's
Was it like
Hollywood.
8 seasons in?
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy, but, it was really cool to see, like, okay, these are not just guys that get in the cars and drive around on track. There's so much more to not only to the sport, but to them as drivers, which is really, really awesome
There's a
to get
saying
that perspective. Go
sorry.
ahead, yeah.
No, totally. There's a saying. So I was listening to a podcast episode with Nick Sherwink, Headlighter Mindset. He quoted someone else saying, in relation to music and artists, the music is the soundtrack to the movie.
Yeah,
Meaning, an artist's music is just the soundtrack to to the movie.
yeah.
But who are they? Who are they actually? That's the movie, and that's like one of the goals for this podcast is
I
to
love
really
that.
understand that.
I love that. That's I've never heard that before, but I absolutely love that.
Nick,
Yeah,
shout out.
yeah.
Great pod. Thank you for some of that inspiration. Um, what makes you wiggle? You know? Like, okay, I get hockey, I get F1, but like for me, sometimes I'll eat like not sometimes, all the time when I have the Trader Joe's peanut butter chocolate cups, I'll just do a little wiggle, like something
Yeah.
that really just like gets me going. What is that for you?
Dude, I love Cinnabon, man. I fucking love Cinnabon. It's such a
It
guilty
doesn't have to be food, by the
no,
way.
no, but that's, like, what comes right to mind. It's such a guilty pleasure, man.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, they have them at the airports, right?
yeah, I know. It's and Auntie Anne's, like, I've had to cut back tremendously when you're in the airport so much. It's so easy to be unhealthy and just go right there. Yeah, and I just, like I am such a kids menu eater. It's so bad.
Is that what
But
you get at McDonald's, the kids menu?
yeah.
Happy Meal?
Well, no, not anymore. But yeah, what you would get in like I get McNuggets. What you would get in a Happy Meal is what I get. Just I get more of them. So, um, yeah, but I've tried to cut back a lot because that stuff is so bad for you. But yeah, that's it's my guilty pleasure for sure, for sure. And now like where I live, I just moved and I'm like within walking distance of both McDonald's and Cinnabon, which is
Uh-oh.
like yeah, yeah. Not good,
It's
not
it's
good.
good practice for discipline.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
Great.
very important.
I love that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, anything else you want people to know about you? Like, you as a human?
Um, no, I mean, I feel like I provided a really good picture, I'm just like I try to wake up every day and be extremely grateful. I'm grateful for my health, like knowing what it's like to be in an unhealthy place and both physically and mentally. Like I said, I'm nowhere near perfect, but to be generally in a healthy place is just something to be extremely grateful for, and to have people in my life around me that I love and support me and care for me that are healthy. And I love my family. I love going back to Long Island to visit my family and my dog. And yeah, I'm just I try to wake up with gratitude every day
Yeah.
because, I know there's a lot of people who wanna do this stuff and just we're not in the place to, we're not it just wasn't in the cards for them, and I didn't grow up in, like, a rich family, but I grew up in an environment and in a way that did provide me those opportunities, and it was enough certainly to get me started,
Mm.
I didn't grow up with connections in the music industry, but like I said, it was enough for me to have the tools to get my hands in the dirt and be like, okay, I'm gonna really get into this and try to make it happen. But telling you, it really is the truth. I know it's like so cliche. If you love it enough, you can make it happen. And I'm nowhere near where I want to be yet, But it's really true. It really
Yeah,
is. So
I
um,
believe that as well.
yeah.
Gratitude practice. You mentioned gratitude. Do you have one? What does it look like?
I have this like sticky note that sits on my nightstand, like right next to my lamp, or right, it's like on my lamp, right next to my bed. That just says something about gratitude and to be grateful. And I
Mm.
try to look at that every day. I do want to try to get into, a little more journaling in the next year. And I think writing stuff down, writing things you're grateful for every day is very important. Um, been recommended to me to set a reminder on my phone, but my reminders get very cluttered because I often have a very big to-do list between my personal work and, um, my, music projects. But yeah, it's something that I wanna hone in on even more because, uh, yeah, I really do feel like it's just another chance for me, and I'm grateful that I get to be where I am, and I'm grateful to the listeners and the supporters who support me now, more than I can ever say. Thank you guys,
Mm.
because you're allowing me to live out my dreams and live out the journey of this process that is everything that I want, you know? So, I'm more than thankful to them.
I love that. Yeah, thank you for saying that too. Um, we have a segment on the podcast where we ask the previous guests a question that they want to know from the future guest,
Okay.
not knowing who that next guest is.
Yeah.
So this question's from Tom Bluer, BLOSSM,
Alright. Let's hear it.
and he's curious, what do you do? How do you handle the situation? What do you do when you're feeling like you're not doing enough? Because you can go on Instagram and see everything that everyone's doing, whether it's a new post or a new trend or a new song.
Oh, yeah.
What do you do in that situation where you're like, oh my gosh, am I doing enough?
By the way, I feel like this, like, all the time because, like, Uh, it's yeah, it's so in our faces,
Mm,
and I don't even wanna be on social media that much, but you kinda have to, post and assess trends. The first thing that comes to mind to me is it's a couple of things. The first thing that comes to mind, like I said, is going to someone close to me and talking to them about how I feel. Usually my manager, Vin, and getting his perspective, and he can usually talk me off a ledge with that stuff, because it can really get to you. Because all you see is just DJs that are crushing it. That's
yep.
what gets shown to you. You're not showing the guys that, like, aren't getting as many views, of course, and whatnot. You're just showing people crushing it, and then you feel like, "Oh, I'm not crushing it like they are," And that's the next thing I try to remind myself is, like, it's just what's being shown to me. I have my own path, and that's what my path is, whatever it may be. And that was something that, like, Derek from Slander really stressed to me last time I had a good chat with him was, you know, I talked to him a little bit about this, about comparison and stuff, and he's like, that's their path, good for them, and you have your path, and that'll be yours, and that's fine.
Mm.
So yeah, I think also like stepping away from social media too is a big thing. Disconnecting and just, taking a deep breath. Those are the things that I do. Um,
Do you meditate?
so no, I don't, and I really want to start this in the next year for sure. I've been told over and over again that it would be very helpful for me. Um, yeah, it's definitely something I want to start with, and I'd imagine it's something that's extremely helpful for calming yourself down with that stuff because you can really start to go down a rabbit hole, of like this train of thought of like, "Oh my god, I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it," whatever making it even looks like? So, yeah, definitely something I wanna get into.
I have some advice or some thoughts on that, but
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
share it off camera because it's not a show about me. Um, awesome. Is there a question that you hoped I would ask that I didn't?
No, I don't think so. No, this has been unbelievable, man. So awesome
Thank you.
to provide a platform like this. I really appreciate it immensely. It's been a really, awesome discussion and like I feel like so well-rounded and open-minded. So I appreciate you having me immensely, man. I appreciate your passion for this and the music and the artists. Means a lot. Means a lot.
Thank
So
you. No, thank
yeah.
you for saying that. And yeah, thank you for coming on and sharing and being vulnerable. And it's not easy. It's not easy to go out and share some things that have been hard in your life. And we
Yeah.
talked about fake social media, right? It's easier just to post all the highlights to
Yeah.
this fake
Yeah.
profile or persona of someone. It's not the real story. So I commend you for coming on here, for wanting to do this, for doing the hard thing, and I think it's gonna inspire a bunch of people, a lot of people.
Thanks, man. Means a lot.
Yeah,
The pleasure is all mine. Thank you very much.
thank
Appreciate
you.
you.
Thank you so much for listening. It's because of people like you that care about the full, authentic stories of your favorite artists that make this possible. If any part of the podcast resonated with you, I'd really appreciate it if you dropped a like, a comment, a review, or even just send it to a friend. It all really helps. Much love.